Hi there! Now that I have glued all the strips together and I have the upper hull ready for the next step, which is to sand everything down to the shape that I want. But I will start with cutting clean everything that is excess. So this will make it easy to sand, because then I just need to do the last trimming. Yeah, I could also do something about this. So this should make it easier to sand the surface here. Now let's do the actual sanding. I start with cutting down on the areas that are sticking out the most. As there is much material to remove, I do not bother following the fiber direction. When I have less material to remove, I try to follow the fibers to get a smooth surface. Here I have earlier added strips that I need to take down. I added the strips to fill a too thin strip. After taking down the excess, I also sand the rest until the whole surface is smooth. After having done one half of the hull, I start on the other side. Note that I first sand until most epoxy surface is roughened. Then I shape the form, so it follows the bulkhead shape and is smooth. The bulkheads are in my way, so I need to remove them so I can continue and smoothen the surface. The rather flat middle section doesn't require anything special. The front section has a shape that demands more work. I have to tilt the blade to follow the shape. A shorter blade or an oscillating sander could have been a better tool. But by tilting the blade I can still achieve a good result and reach all areas of the surface. Another way to use a belt sander is to slide with it. The result is not very even, but for the first rough sanding it works. There are also other ways to misuse a belt sander to get rid of the glossy epoxy surface. A rough surface is important for the fairing later. The rather flat inside of this piece also gets sanded now. I do it as it's easy to do now, although not necessary. With the help of the clamps I'm soon done and can move inside for the next step. This is to fair the hull with a lightweight epoxy filler. I fill some voids, otherwise this aft-end doesn't need much fairing. Here in the front I have a low spot to fill. With rubber squeegee I get it flat. The larger voids on this side is my main focus. As I have roughened up the surface with the sanding, it's relatively easy to get the fairing compound to stick. Although it's hard to get a smooth surface on the first stroke. Large fills are harder to get nice directly. Adding more material helps. But here in the inward band I might need to add a second layer. A better solution could have been if I had added more wood from the beginning. After the fairing I will need to adjust the profile. I want the profile to be similar on both sides. After marking where to remove material, I start the sander again. I also cut off the surface layer of the fairing compound on the rest. This is the result of today's episode.